Hi guys, VTech with Blueberry Hill. So this is a second video of T190 Bobcat repair, where we're changing the fuel tank and taking care of some seals and finding some hydraulic leaks along the way. You'll see that near the end of the video. I finally found the big one, so just a hose, got to change it out. But anyway, hopefully you'll enjoy some of these sections, and it'll help you out if you're doing the same kind of repair. So here you see me using two long wrenches. I had to buy a whole new socket set for the sizes of the hydraulic lines. This line I could never actually remove, so I moved on to other stuff. In a little bit I'll show you the motor mount from hell. The left front motor mount, I could not get that thing freed up. It took me literally a couple of hours. I ended up buying a 18-inch gear wrench, which finally went onto the bolt and I could unlock it. They said 70 foot-pounds on the motor mounts. They were more like 150 or somewhere around there. But anyway, it was a pain. So Bobcat service manual says you build a special engine removal tool. Basically, I used the tractor, which was actually an easier tool to use for me. It came out pretty easily. Just forklifted it. I had one hose still connected to the pump. It wasn't too hard to get off. And then I dropped the motor on the ground, of course, and I started cleaning up the whole thing. This is all just to get the engine, the fuel tank out. Bobcat wanted something like $3,000 to do the job, and of course while the engine's out, they recommended a couple other things which I took care of as well, and you'll see that later in the video. So I kind of rigged this setup here. I have chains on the engine, of course, and then I have a tie strap holding the chain towards the tractor so it doesn't slide off, right? Later on I actually drilled a hole in one of the forks when I reinstalled the motor. I'm not going to show you that, but anyway, and that kind of locked up the chain on the fork, and it was pretty easy to do. So here you see me backing it out, and I'll flop it on the ground. I'll pressure wash everything. Soon you're going to see the mess that's inside the Bobcat after 13 years of use. And of course we're going to clean that all up, clean the motor, and then we'll move on from there. Not surprising, the inside of the Bobcat had probably, I don't know, I'll say 15, 20 pounds of crap in the bottom. Hydraulic fluid, of course I had a massive hydraulic leak plus the fuel, so the whole bottom of the Bobcat was filled with junk. The access holes and drain holes were all boogered up, so everything stays in there, and it definitely smelled horrible. Here you see the whole thing. I had to use various little tools to scrape all that crap out. Here if you recognize what I'm holding, that's actually, I sped it up so you won't see it, but that's a HughesNet dish support. Actually that's just a bar. You'll see me using the dish support in a little bit. It actually has a little scoop on it, which made it pretty nice to pry the junk out, and I broke up the hard stuff. Then I pressure wash and of course clean everything up. Anyway, this was a pain. Stinky. We burnt the stuff, and it burnt for like 2 days, so that was interesting. Anyway, moving on. pressure wash time. I did this several times already with the Bobcat, but couldn't get all the stuff out of the bottom of the Bobcat, of course, because it was all covered with the the tank. You'll see the tank on the left over there. We basically I took all the stuff off the tank, of course, and using it on the new one. The new tank, unfortunately, was $680, very expensive. And then a couple of other seals that I swapped out on the pump, the drive seals. They were $90-ish, and then spool seals, which were about $44, which included two small boots. But anyway, oh look, a blue motor. Yeah, so this isn't normal. I mean, obviously I painted the motor a light blue, so I painted it. It looks like a Ford blue almost. Here you see me doing working on the drive seals. I'm not sure what you call these things, so I call them drive seals. The one on the left, which I already put back in place, that was the one that was leaking a tiny bit. You could see a small leak from the top of the pump. So all this was obviously filthy dirty. I cleaned it up real good. I even painted all the movable parts, just to protect everything and clean things up. These were the $90 seals. There's just two little O-ring things and two main gear seals, I guess, whatever you call them. And they're under, I guess, some pressure, so they're fancy schmancy. But anyway, this was pretty straightforward to do. Just take your time, clean everything up. I had to use a little disc grinding to clean up the rust from some of these components. Then I didn't even prime these things, I just painted them. But anyway, I did hit some things with rust resolver, which neutralizes the rust, so hopefully that'll help. Anyway, everything went pretty smooth. Just I didn't show you how to take all this stuff apart, but it's just a couple of bolts and everything pops off, so it's pretty straightforward. I did buy the service manual. I don't know if I mentioned it in the other video. That was very helpful. They leave out, some of the pictures leave out a little bit of stuff, but overall it was worth the $25 I paid for it on a CD PDF. Another fun part, so the engine was sitting in the shop for, I guess, about a couple of weeks. I was waiting on the tank, then I went to get the seals and stuff. Right where you see the hose coming out of the pan, there was a pinhole leak, so it made a mess on my floor, right there. Ta-da! And I had to take the pan off to do a proper fix. You can see it's kind of rusty, so I didn't show you the whole thing, but anyway, I put a little patch 18 gauge sheet metal. Then I welded it all up, and you see me finishing up the welding. I did some inside and outside because it was kind of poked through a little bit. So anyway, I welded the crap out of it, and water tested it for leaks. Everything was good, so I threw it back on the motor. I did paint it, also blue, so there you go. And then a little bit of RTV gasket maker, and off I went. So with the motor out, it was a good time to do the spool seals. Here's, you just saw me stab. That's the lift arm spool, the bottom one, and the top one's the tilt. They're little seals, 4 of them, so I decided to do those. They were $44 with boots that covered these pistons, and I took the bottom one, did the bottom one first because that was an easy one, and then I took the main, I don't know what the hell you call it, the back cover. You'll see me taking that off. It holds a bunch of junk in it, so that's for the tilt and some other stuff. So anyway, I pulled all that off, cleaned it up, put the new seals in. That was very easy to do. Put everything back together, and we're hoping for the best, right? What you don't see me doing here is there had to be quite a bit of disassembly on the front of the control valve. The bolts, couldn't get one of the bolts out until I dropped a big bracket that held some kind of hydraulic control piece on it as well. So hydraulic disconnections plus moving a mount so I can get one stupid screw out of the way. Bobcat's full of this kind of stuff, but anyway, a little frustrating. Just a lot of hours playing with it. I didn't get a price on these things, but I'm sure it's in the $500 range, probably because usually the motor's not out. But anyway, easy peasy. So here's the reassembly of the front. You can see that little control thing on the left. There's a bracket on this from the side of the Bobcat. I had to basically disconnect that so I can take the control piece off this. And these little green seals are the new ones. Then there's this kind of a washer, step washer thing that goes in here. I already did the bottom one. You can see that step washer already in there. That's the original seal right there. It was pretty hard. Anyway, reverse of disassembly was pretty easy. Just making sure everything's clean. Since this was still in the Bobcat, I was kind of worried about getting it grindy, but I made sure I was spotless on that. And then basically just reassembled, just a couple of screws and stuff, and then hopefully put all the hoses back where they go. And you can see the new boots right there. The original boots weren't like totally shot up, but there was tons of crap behind one of them. So I decided I wasn't going to look around for a hole in it, and so I just decided to buy 2 new ones and just shove them in there, and everything's good. Next, you'll see me put the lock solenoids on there, or lock spools, whatever they call those things. Terminology on these things is a little bit new to me, so you know, bear with me on that. But those have to come out because everything's locked because there's no power on the Bobcat. So the lock mechanism has to come out so I can pull the spools out. here we go with the engine reinstall. The only fun part was trying to get the tilt of the motor right so I can get it on the engine mount. That took me a little while. I did drill a hole in one of my forks so I could wrap the chain on it so it would be a little bit pokey, not so far into the motor. And that did the trick. And then I angled the fork. You can see it kind of tilted up, which was actually perfect for the angle of the motor. What I did is I actually zip tied the donut and bolt mounts on the inside so they wouldn't fall. So when I stabbed this thing in there, it would just rest on them, and then I could finagle with the bolts all I wanted. So here you see me kind of moving the tractor back and forth a little bit. Once I hooked up the right rear motor mount, everything was good. I just kind of pivoted around that, and then I had to move the tractor left to right so I could angle the motor onto the engine mounts in the inside. In the same way as so basically everything else was just a reassembly. The only thing that gave me a lot of headache was the engine mount on the left front. I dropped the bolt into the what I'm calling Bobcat abyss between the reservoir, the frame, and the gas tank, and it got wedged in there, and that literally took me about an hour to get out of there. You just cannot reach in there. I don't have any kind of plier system that I could get in there easily. I finally finagled that. And then it took me a while to actually put that bolt in. I had to bevel the bolt to a nice point so I could get it in there and contact that square stupid nut that they have on that side. It's that slotted nut that goes into the mount. Major pain. If that thing was facing towards the front of the Bobcat, I think all problems would have been solved, because you could see everything and feel. It's ridiculous how this is kind of some of the design stuff in here, but anyway, here you see me reassembling everything, and that kind of went okay. I had only one other problem with one hydraulic line, and that was because I think it got cross-threaded and one of the threads actually broke. I realized that when I couldn't get it to start threading on, so I found it, I broke the little thread off, and then I ground it down a tiny bit, and then it went on in like a minute. That was one of the big fat hoses on the back side of the pump. Anyway, the rest was pretty straightforward. Once I got it all put together, the engine fired off. It didn't even crank over for a second. It just kind of boom, and off it went. Of course, I filled it with fluids, everything fresh, and then I found the big gigantic hydraulic leak that I was looking for earlier. So once I filled it with fluids and it ran, it took about I guess 5 gallons of hydraulic fluid put in there. Put 10 gallons of fuel. Everything's good there, and we've got fresh oil in there, of course. Did find 2 little problems. For some reason, the turbo oil cooler hose, the bolt ended up being finger tight, and it pissed engine oil all over the back of the motor. That was kind of surprising. I put a wrench on it and tightened it up, no problem. That stopped, and then I found the big hydraulic leak, which was probably due to the throttle rod hitting the hose and rubbing a hole in it. It's pissing really good from there. I can't run it with it the way it is because it just pees out of there. So I gotta change that out this coming Monday. I'll either get one made or get it from Bobcat if they have it. Anyway, that's the end of that. Hopefully everything will be good. Thanks for watching and listening.